Did you know that Rick and Morty canonically exist in the Marvel Universe? That confirmation comes with the release of one of the X-Men chapters in the Dawn of X reboot line, Marauders Issue 6. That book, following Kitty Catherine Pryde's team of globe-trotting mutant pirates, comes with a signature Jonathan Hickman-style chart, a staple of the Dawn of X line, and it's within that chart that Rick and Morty is referenced as an active TV program within the Marvel Universe, which made me remember how many awesome heroes Rick and Morty has introduced, and I decided to talk about them. The very first time when we see superheroes in the show is in the form of Vindicators. The Vindicators were a superhero team who made their first appearance in the 4th episode of the 3rd season. The team's arch nemesis was Worldender. They recruited Rick and Morty to help them once before, but later neglected to summon them for the second adventure due to personality conflicts. This resulted in them destroying a planet in order to defeat an enemy known as Doomnometron, a situation Rick could have prevented if he were there. Nearly all of them were killed when Rick, in a fit of drunken jealousy and contempt, set up a Saw-style gauntlet to prove the team was nothing but a bunch of hacks who aren't as unique or great as they thought they were. This caused most of the team to die in Rick's traps or kill each other when tensions and inner turmoil turned them against each other. Supernova and Noob Noob are currently the only members still alive. In Vindicators 2, which shows the events leading to Doomnometron's death, more details about the actual events of the incident are revealed. Not only did Supernova destroy Dorian 5 by accident during her miscarriage, but she also killed the members who allegedly died fighting Doomnometron in a drunken stupor. It is also revealed that the Vindicators had abandoned Earth to avoid Doomnometron, only for it to be killed by one of Rick's inventions without his knowing, allowing them to still take credit for its defeat. The Vindicators are a parody of various superhero teams, including the Avengers, the Guardians of the Galaxy, the Fantastic Four, X-Men, Justice League, and Teen Titans. Vindicators 2 shows them to be more similar to the Seven from The Boys, as they care more about their public image than about actually saving lives. Their logo is a vertically inverted Avengers logo with crosshairs around it, creating a V rather than an A. As an intergalactic team, they appear to be unconcerned with Earth, as Supernova had not heard of Israel until drunk Rick ranted about it. An additional member was planned for the Vindicators called Arrow Girl or Quiver, and to star in the B-plot of the episode, but was cut along with the B-plot. It is likely that the character Ventriloquiver, who is a female archer and dummy, supplemented this scrapped character in one crew over the Crewcoo's Morty. More scrapped members include Dr. Reach, man with stretching powers, conjoined twins where one was very fit and attractive and the other one wasn't, and a knitting grandma. There are 9 known Vindicators, which include Supernova, Noob Noob, Vance Maximus, Alan Rails, Crocobot, Million Ants, Lady Katana, Calypso, and Diablo Verde, the first 2 being the only surviving members of the team. It is unknown if the Vindicators are still active. I wonder if they recruited new members, or if Supernova and Noob Noob created their own duo. I really hope we'll see them again in the series. Now let's talk about their powers and abilities. Obviously, the strongest one of the team is Supernova. She is ridiculously powerful. She's responsible for the creation of her partner, Million Ants, proving that her abilities are at least cosmic level. Supernova is strong enough to capture Rick with minimal effort and is theoretically capable of killing him and Morty. In addition, she can transmute objects, perform feats of telekinesis, spawn portals, and so on. She is without a doubt one of the strongest characters from the series who has not really realized her power and abilities yet. Even though Vance Maximus is the official leader of the Vindicators, Supernova seems to be the true leader as she commands the team most of the time. Maximus's true position may be as the team's figurehead. On the other hand, Vance Maximus is strong enough to consider himself as leader too. He donned a retractable jetpack that allowed him to take flight and also leave behind turquoise blue flames, as well as peripheral jet boots, as part of his technological garb. His gauntlets contain blasters which he uses with expert marksmanship sufficient enough to accurately blast and shatter a falling martini glass. He did this without the advantage of his gauntlet's numerous holographic reticles to assist in aiming. As a part of his technological apparatus, he owned a holographic monocle that could lock onto targets and identify them, notably the security drones guarding Worldender on the Terrania system. The index finger on his right gauntlet could spray a stimulant in aerosol form which he used to wake up Rick to bypass a turret emplacement. He was portrayed as a confident leader and had the authority to recruit new members to the Vindicators, such as when he gave Morty his Vindicator-style jacket. I would say that he can be seen as a reference to the Marvel superhero Iron Man due to how both are portrayed as the de facto leader of their respective groups, along with their overall demeanor as a ladies' man and being alcoholics. However, it's safe to say that Maximus is a functioning drinker and not an alcoholic. The next member from the team is Alan Rails, who is able to summon ghost trains by blowing pulling on the train whistle around his neck, which are capable of tunneling through solid rock. These trains leave behind a green trail. In addition to trains, he can also manifest a short section of railroad track, presumably for use as a melee weapon. Furthermore, he can also manifest ghost trains while throwing punches for added power. Despite the speed and destructive capabilities of these trains, Alan cannot use them other than to destroy things in their path. In other words, he cannot use the trains for more practical uses such as pulling the Vindicator's ship when it ran out of gas. Next one is, or rather are, 1 million ants. Unlike other heroes, there is not really much to talk about with regards to his powers. All we have seen so far is that he has very good healing abilities, since Queen Ant can quickly produce offspring if Million Ants gets injured, and he can do size shifting by commanding the ants that make up his body to form those shapes. And the last official member of the Vindicators who has appeared in the series is Krakubot. Unfortunately, we have even less information about his abilities. All we have seen from him is that he has heat vision and enhanced intelligence. There's also Noob Noob. Unfortunately, we saw nothing that would display his powers, and the Vindicators were deliberately ignoring and refusing to accept him as a team member. However, due to recent events, besides Supernova, he is the only remaining member of the team, and I wonder if the group officially disbanded or Noob Noob joined Supernova and formed a duo with her. Hope we'll hear more about it soon. The Vindicators weren't the only superhero team that was introduced in the series. In the 7th episode of the 6th season, Self-Referential 6 is introduced. In that episode, after Story-Lord escapes into reality, Rick and Morty sneak into the fortress of the Self-Referential 6. Superheroes with powers related to meta-stories and the show's creativity. The fortress is really a prison, with Rick seeing out a certain inmate who can aid him. However, the 6 quickly find Rick and try to end him. First up is Miss Lead, smacking Rick around and harnessing her power of being a badass leader with plot armor. Rick activates a narrative force field, but Flashback appears using his ability to scour history and break the tech. Continuity Error arrives to put oil barrels in the scientist's way that were not there before, poking fun at random add-ons to the plot that no one cares to explain. Next, Rick and Morty flee and battle Protago Nick, who turns any character into a protagonist. Rick avoids his laser, which transforms a guard named Marvin into the star of his own show, Marvin the Cowardly Security Guy, only for the scrap to end when Mr. Twist detonates a smash cut grenade. It teleports everyone to a chamber where Rick and Morty are tied. His power is, of course, having time jumps with no rationale needed, working these tropes in to defeat the heroes. That's 5 members of the Justice League pastiche, with Twist admitting that the twist is there is no 6th member. But there sort of is when Rick escapes and frees Brett Kahn, who can retcon reality. Morty jokes he should have been called Retcon, which the prisoner wills into reality. Rhett then uses his godlike powers, nodding to Scarlet Witch and Dr. Manhattan to take out his captors. It's a brutal sequence with him melting Lead, removing bones from Twist's body and sending the others running, but Rhett later turns on Rick. He remakes the fortress as an orange and departs, which leaves Rick and Morty traversing a barren wasteland. Ultimately, he doesn't care for the plight of such plebs, and while Rick and Morty eventually stop Story-Lord, one has to wonder if they'll meet Rhett or the members of the 6 again. Usually Rick would be up for a game of revenge, but in this case he fears these folks so much that he may prefer to let sleeping dogs lie and continue working on his rehabilitation. Retcon is the most interesting one in my opinion. When you think about it, he can basically be classified as an omniverse embodiment being, since he is the very concept of a retcon, and a retcon exists in all conceivable dimensions, universes, multiverses, and megaverses. Personally, I enjoyed Self-Referential 6 more than the Vindicators, maybe because they don't look like generic superheroes and had an actually unique and interesting set of abilities. I really hope that we will see them at least retcon. In my opinion, he is one of the most interesting characters in the series. I really wonder how the Self-Referential 6 managed to capture and put him in prison while he is this strong. I really hope that he was not a one-time character and will appear in the series again. We have even less information about the next hero organization. In the 8th episode of the 6th season, we are introduced to several heroes, but the most important out of them is the Galactic Orb Ship Organization. We don't know anything about them since they appeared only for like 1 minute in total. However, they were strong enough to give Jerry enough power to become a legitimate superhero, and their post-credit scene reminded me of how Hollywood directors are looking for the next star. We don't really know how strong the members of this council are, but we can pretty much assume that they are super strong, and I hope that, just like how we got several bits of material dedicated to the Vindicators that we will get the same treatment for this group as well. Anyway, I think this is all the hero organizations that we were introduced to in the show. Now let's talk about the solo heroes, and I want to start with Planetina, who appeared in the 3rd episode of the 5th season. Planetina catches Morty's attention when she stops an evil rat alien named Diesel Weasel. Morty promptly asks her on a date, to which she accepts. After a fire, Morty confesses how he likes her, and she is flattered before introducing him to her children, who treat her like an item. She soon has an interview with the media until becoming surprised when Morty states that they are a couple. Planetina and Morty officially become a couple after a series of dates. However, the Tina-Tears are annoyed by the relationship and want to get rid of Morty for Planetina to focus on making them profits. This causes Morty to go on a murder spree of the Tina-Tears and their potential customers until he obtains their rings. Now free, she and Morty want to be together, but his mother forbids it, causing Morty to leave home. While trying to save the Earth with Morty without the Tina-Tears to rein her in, Planetina's behavior starts to become increasingly violent, starting with slashing the tires on a highway full of cars, and then burning down a congressman's home with a petrol bomb, which begins to horrify Morty. Afterwards, at a mining facility, the two confront a group of miners who are about to go underground while Planetina is telling them what their actions are doing to the planet, but they refuse to listen and proceed underground to resume their mining. After Morty says they'll get them next time, Planetina flies in a fit of rage and burns the entire mining facility to the ground, resulting in the deaths of 300 people while Morty watches in tears. These actions cause Morty to decide to tearfully end the relationship, amid Planetina's attempts to justify her actions at the mine from his bedroom window. She also brings up how he killed the Tina-Tears, while he states he only wanted her free. Planetina then confesses her love for him, but he sadly rejects her declaration. Distraught at the rejection, she tearfully curses Morty out before flying into the night heartbroken, leaving Beth to comfort her heartbroken son. That episode was the last episode in which she appeared, and I do not think that we will see her anytime soon, as I think her arc is pretty much done, and I expect no more than a cameo from her in one of the upcoming episodes. Another solo hero who I think deserves to be in this video is Mr. Nimbus. The first time we meet him is in the pilot episode of the 5th season. In that episode, Morty allegedly desecrates the sacred treaty betwixt land and sea when he crash lands Rick's space car into the ocean. The Fae Mr. Nimbus emerges from his watery depths and demands to have a new treaty established, which Rick grudgingly agrees to. However, the old man sends Summer on a solo off-screen adventure to retrieve his nemesis's power source, a conch shell, showing that Rick is terrified of dealing with Mr. Nimbus at the latter's peak strength. He may not look like much in the show because of the limited screen time, but we fortunately got a comic about him, which shows us the first time he met Rick and how their relationship went. In that comic, we can see how strong Mr. Nimbus truly is, and he is no joke. He is without a doubt a top-tier fighter. While the comic one-shot shows how Mr. Nimbus is more than just a Rick and Morty comedy bit and confirms him to be a legitimate world-ending threat, the issue also shows why it became necessary for Rick and Nimbus's rivalry to have such an explosive ending, and who was to blame. When the two first met, Rick didn't know if he could trust Nimbus, even though the King of the Ocean gave him every reason to and treated Rick with the utmost respect. Eventually, Rick accepted that he could be friends with Nimbus, but only if he knew he could trust him. For Rick, this meant he had to travel to different dimensions and kill Nimbus in each one to prove that he could do the same to his Nimbus if necessary. I plan on doing a separate video about the past of Mr. Nimbus and Rick, so stay tuned for that. Mr. Nimbus is very likely a satire of King Namor from the comics, a character that, like Mr. Nimbus, is unknown to the mainstream, however is filled with over a dozen superpowers such as controlling sea life and even flight. It's also similar to Namor's rivalry with Reed Richards, a Rick-like genius inventor, a character who also uses a Citadel-like storyline with Reeds from many universes. But the show seems to make most fun of the fact that King Namor only fashioned a Speedo and was incidentally over-sexual, and his habit of often saying, "I am Namor." If we are talking about the strong characters that are related to Rick, we must not forget Bird Person. Bird Person's martial skills are certainly above average, considering that he comes out of the Battle of Blood Ridge sans a single scratch. When Tammy turns him into a cybernetic bird, codenamed Phoenix Person, his powers are tremendously enhanced. Phoenix Person can fire lasers from his outstretched wings, manifest a drill from behind his nose, and generate a sonic blast of concussive force by screaming. In fact, Phoenix Person is defeated only because of Jerry's invisible puppetry. He is certainly one of the strongest characters, and I am kinda disappointed that we saw him only once fight fighting. It's been quite a while since we last saw Bird Person, and I hope he'll come back soon. Bird Person is a parody of Hawk from Buck Rogers according to the commentary track on the Season 1 DVD. Bird Person's new name, Phoenix Person, is a reference to Dark Phoenix of the X-Men, who is the resurrected form of Jean Grey. It is also a reference to the myth that Phoenixes are reborn from the ashes after their death. Phoenix Person is a possible reference to the Marvel Comics character Angel, who is given metallic wings, becoming Archangel. And also, there are a lot of superhero references in Season 6, Episode 8. Cookie Magneto is copying Magneto from the X-Men. Pissmaster is inspired by Spider-Man's Green Goblin. Pissmaker's heroic sacrifice resembles Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises. And there are a Riddler Hitler and a Gorilla Grodd Hitler at the Council of Space Hitlers. As you can see, there has been a surprisingly big number of superheroes in the series. Believe it or not, there is a good chance that Homelander might make a cameo appearance in the Rick and Morty series. I don't know if most of you are aware, but a spin-off of The Boys exists called The Boys Presents Diabolical. Seth Rogen poetically described the new animated series Diabolical as if The Boys and Invincible made love together and had a baby. Well, for one episode in particular, we just replace Invincible with Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty co-creator Justin Roiland and Blark & Sons' Ben Bayouth wrote one of the 8 short installments of The Boys Presents Diabolical, which was directed by Parker Simmons and rendered in the same animation style as the animated adventures of Rick Sanchez and Morty Smith. Even though the episode had nothing to do with Rick and Morty, besides having the exact same art style, given the nature of Rick and Morty, it is not impossible to think that at some point we will see a cameo of Homelander in the series. This animation could be a little teaser for that. Homelander's brutal antagonistic nature also fits perfectly with Rick and Morty's theme of having great characters. I do not expect him to be a recurring character on the show, but a one-time guest at most. I mean, if Elon Musk and Ice Cube made their cameos in the show, I wouldn't be surprised if Homelander did as well, especially since he has more connections to this show than those two. How a fight between those two would go is anyone's guess, since we will definitely see a different version of Homelander if he appeared in the series. Thankfully, as you can see, we've had plenty of other heroes in Rick and Morty's own universe whose powers are mostly going under the radar. Who is your favorite superhero from this series? About who do you want to hear more? Let me know in the comments, like this video, and subscribe to the channel for more.